Yeah. Yes, yes.
Okay, you heard that, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. So I think here now we're gonna be able to record the audio, and then from there I can just pull the audio and turn it into a transcript in order for me to work on it tomorrow and pull out all these take outtakes and like takeaway points and all these details that the um project requires. I'm gonna share with you before like we get into it. I want to share with you like the
Mm-hmm.
screen of like the project, so you know like this is something that share. Let me see, share. Um, okay, this one. Yeah. So can you see that? Oh no, not yet. Share.
Let's see.
So what I'm sharing with you is a screen of the actual like the project. It's called Ethical Empathy Ethnographic Interview. Can you see that?
Ethnographic. Nice.
Yeah, and the ethnographic
Yes.
interview. So basically what that is, it's I'm just looking actually for here, choose questions. Okay, so here I'm just highlighting where I'm going to be reading on what is that? What is ethical empathy ethnographic interview, right? So basically what that is, this technique of this sort of interview, most of us do it, but we don't know that we're doing it. But it's kind of like cool to know how to like emphasize this point when you're talking to someone,
Uh-huh.
you know, because you can just get more
Mm-hmm.
information from them. So basically the first point is
Mm-hmm.
to listen actively. So like
Mm-hmm.
once the question is done, I'm just going to be quiet and listen to what the person is saying,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
the second point is ask a follow-up question. So like once you finish saying what you're saying on the first question, I'm going to inquire more about your response, right? To get a deeper understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third point is to encourage storytelling. So it will be of
Mm-hmm.
me inviting you to share something in your experience that connects with your response. And then lastly,
Mm-hmm.
right, is to take detailed notes. So that's why we're recording this because like this kind of like the only way for me to take detailed notes. So yeah, so this is the
Mm-hmm.
project, right? And I'm like I'm doing this MBA online with this school in Massachusetts called LaSalle University. It's like the only school in the whole United States that offers an MBA with a focus on footwear and apparel production management.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah. So I sent you those questions. I'm gonna stop sharing now. This screen. Okay. So I shared those questions to you. I sent four questions, right? But it's actually two. So the purpose was for
Mm-hmm.
you kind of like to
So I chose two questions.
which question you chose?
The first one, how do you
Mm-hmm.
perceive the role of ethics in addressing sustainability challenges within the fashion industry?
Mm-hmm.
And I think is the last one. This is a long discussion, but I've been through. From your perspective, what are the greatest barriers to
Barriers to achieve
achieving
sustainability.
sustainability in the fashion industry,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
how might they be overcome?
Yeah, that is
This
something that the fashion industry it's always encountering. That's the I think that's the biggest. current issue that they're dealing with, the sustainability and how to make the industry more efficient when it comes to the use of raw materials.
If it's
So
that's the desire, but
yeah,
since it's the
but it's very
biggest chunk of
hard.
economy for it, it's very hard. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah, it's very hard because so many people are just like producing, so many quantities
It's
of
a big
materials. Many
industry.
companies, yeah, many companies are doing it at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I
Exactly.
think that I think the only reason why it's happening is the desire of more money. I think that they equate
Exactly.
that with more profits. And actually what they're doing is producing more
Exactly.
waste because people are not buying everything that they produce. So if they reduce their production and
Exactly.
concentrate in if they reduce their production and focus on target marketing on the segments of people, they will be more efficient and produce not only reduce, but they will be able to produce a better product at the end of the story, and it will be more effective on sales at
Mm-hmm.
the end of on the shelves because but people don't think they're not thinking about that. They're not thinking about it. But
Mm-hmm.
okay,
Yeah, they mindless consumption.
so Laura, I would like let's start with this before we
Yes.
go to the first question. Do you have a website?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So
I
cool,
still, but I
cool.
still work. I have to. I need a web designer because
Okay, I can
I
assist you
didn't
with that,
work
but
on it.
now, but I can assist you with that,
I
and I can help you with that with no problems. But the reason why I ask you is because I would like to add a link to the PDF document so people
Yes, I
can
have a
see.
website, Instagram.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Laura, can
Yeah,
you
it's
briefly
exactly about the
introduce yourself,
sustainable.
please?
Okay, so my name is Laura Buzia. I'm a jewelry designer. Uh, I work with recycling materials. Uh, I participated to a couple of shows in New York and Romania, Bucharest. Um,
What is your website?
I studied. I have my website is called Divergent Dream Designs.
Gold Diver
Divergent Dream Designs.
divergentdreamdesigns.com. Got it. So for how long you been doing this for?
Uh, I'm doing design since I was a child, but more seriously, uh, uh, maybe 10 years ago,
Mm,
I started taking classes in New York to learn techniques and practice. I practice with uh, uh, many techniques of jewelry designs, mostly using recycling materials like wood, coffee capsules, vintage pieces from second hand uh, items like watches, clothing. I use beads. Uh, I use wires and connecting, all connecting pieces from jewelry stores.
that's great. That's great. I think that what you just said, whoever read this, um, they're gonna their ears are gonna be perked up and they're gonna jump into your website and look at your work. That was very nice what you said. So now let's go to the first question that you chose, right? How do you perceive the role of ethics in addressing sustainability challenges within the fashion industry? Like what that even means. Like, how do you perceive that? What is that? Like, how do you perceive the role of ethics? Like, because ethics, it's about the morals and standards, right? Because that's what ethics really is, right? And then how,
That's right.
and then how this gets applied to the into the fashion industry when it comes to be more sustainable and facing those challenges that they face when they try to become sustainable.
Yes, so yeah, it's a big question. I think ethics plays a big role in addressing sustainability challenges in the fashion industry. Uh, the main reason is because influences how companies make decisions of how they operate, and ethical practices are a big deal in this industry because they're forced to take responsibility for the environmental and the impact of their products, and not only environmental, the social impact, uh, the treatment of the workers in this industry, in the production of these items. So, uh, because we are all interconnected, we all have a big role in this, not only the big companies, but of course the big companies are very important because they have a big impact in the industry. So, for example, the fair labor practices,
Mm-hmm.
when the ethics, the workers, if the workers are not exploited, would be a better development. If we support the local economies and we reduce the mass production of
Mm,
like fast fashion.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Another thing is the ethic. If we do ethical fashion brands, we reduce the waste. If we use eco-friendly materials, we could create more quality products. They last longer, and this is big in in sustainability goals. And
So so
if we promote, yes,
no, no, sorry, finish. I'm sorry.
yeah. So another thing is transparency. If we know where these products come, all the chain, all the chain of the product from the beginning till the end, the transparency with the uh, create a story. People will be involved, so will be a little bit more aware what they buy. So we have to education. Uh, it's a big role to educate people what these products come, so they will understand. Because I think people they don't understand what this means. The ethics, it's like an abstract word, so they have to be a little bit educated through workshops, involvement, design. People they will understand and um, contribute to the design because there are many creative people out there. So
So let me ask
informed
you something.
choices about what they buy. Yes.
So let me ask you this, because you actually went, and I love it. You went with a broad stroke, and you like really highlighted um many aspects um that the actual this question encompasses. So you spoke about the excessive production. You spoke about um the treatment of the workers at their facilities, on how better treatment can lead to better production. And then you also touched what really part that really perked my ear up was when you started talking about the sustainable materials and all this stuff, which you actually work on. So on this question right here, like, so now if we can like place it on yourself because you're part of this fashion industry movement, um, where you use sustainability for your designs, and like, so now how do you in your work environment for yourself, how do you apply this ethics when it comes to the sustainability challenge that you might face, you know? Because I mean, like, I don't know, you know, you are the one working with all these challenges, so like coming with these new ideas, combining materials, seeing what works, what not works, because it's an experiment. Something might work, something might not, you know, because it's kind of like that, right? So how does this like
Mm-hmm.
can you share something that reflects on your personal experience about this aspect?
Yes. So, in my work design, so what not only me, people in my, because I consider myself like a social designer as well. It's good to have a community so more people are connected to this mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So we prevent textile waste from being destroyed. Me personally, I love exploring thrift shops.
Mm,
So basically the waste materials becomes our new raw material.
mm.
So this is my goal, design the waste,
Yeah.
because it's an ecological mindset. The clothes. So in fact, if we create through with this waste, we are interconnected, and also nothing goes on the landfill. So it's reduced consumption
You know, one thing that I've also
related
encountered
product.
having one thing that I have encountered and have been learning about is actually about ethical transparency of your sources and where things are coming from, right? Like where these materials are coming from, where it's being produced, how it's being produced, and like kind of we're like talking about maybe some sort of a like sweatshops and stuff like that, right? When we're talking about ethical sourcing, which I think encompasses on this question. So now I would just want to ask you this question. When you gather materials like your resources from like whatever wherever you get them from, does this thought process your mind? Oh, like where this material came from? Like, do you make that part of your story, your design? Do you ever consider that before?
I'm sorry, it's just breaking out a little bit.
Oh,
I don't
sorry.
hear.
Okay, so can you hear me clear now? Hello? Hello, Laura?
Yes, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now, loud and clear.
Ah, okay.
So can you hear
I
me now
understand. So you
better?
asked me what
Oh, there, yeah, I
you
hear
are.
it. I
Yeah,
hear
now
it.
I hear you.
You're breaking up. Yeah, you're breaking. You hear it? Like I hear it like a robot now.
Can you
Hello?
hear me now? Yes,
Yes, good,
I hear you.
good, good, good,
Okay.
good, good. So my question to you was like now, like doing a little follow up, right? Like, like this part of ethics, right, on sustainability, right? Because we're talking about like where the materials are coming from, also, right? So when we talk about source materials, there's this new thing about like where your raw materials are coming from, where the material is being produced. Is it being produced in a sweatshop or something like that? So my question to you was like when you go out and gather your materials, your resources to make your work, make your designs, have you ever considered where these materials come from to make it part of your story of your design element and your composition? And if it's the material is that is like resource from like sweatshop, does that make any difference?
Yeah, this is one of the ways you could design the waste, exploring. I mean, first of all, explore your own closet, so don't throw out things which can be reused.
Mm,
So exploring thrift shops, it's another way because be wasted, so they could be
mm-hmm,
redesigned. They also uh, the transparency, of course, it's important that so because consumer they have to understand the environmental and social impact
yes,
of their consumption.
yes.
So if we workshops, involvement in design will raise awareness and people will be more mindful what to buy and what's the
Yeah, yeah, and I think
because it's a
also
very
if like
complex situation.
yeah, if like big fashion produce less, people will consume less, right? And it will be less waste, right? Like if right?
Of
I
course.
mean, I think that's a point that we can agree upon. If the big fashion companies produce less instead of like feeding people continuously with
Less
new
is more.
crap, yeah, less is more.
Mm-hmm.
Less is more at the end of the story. Less is more.
Mm-hmm.
So great. That's very good. So let's move on to the second question you chose. The fourth question on the list right here that it says, from your perspective, what are the greatest barriers to achieving sustainability in the fashion industry? And the last part right here, it's like the key point. It's like, and how might they be overcome? So how we might be able to overcome these barriers, right? And I think that we have been talking about it already. You
Yes,
know,
we
I think
cover a
we
little
have
bit,
been
but
touching, I think we have been touching in the last minute or so of maybe how this could be done. But let's try to elaborate and think about it a little bit, right? So we can have more content here. Because this is like a very good question. So I'm just gonna read it out again. From your perspective, what are the greatest barriers to achieving sustainability in the fashion industry, and how might they be overcome?
yeah, so that's a big key of this problem. So the ethics and sustainability are very connected, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to understand, to be aware, so you could apply in this way. So one of because it's a very complex challenge. So
Mm-hmm.
there are many barriers which contribute to this difficulty to make meaningful decision. So from my
Mm-hmm.
perspective, the obstacle are of course big, and one is the fast fashion phenomenon, uh, uh, which is the demand of 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 clothing, which leads to overproduction and then therefore waste and exploitation. So the mindless consumption, it's a big problem. Mm, of course, different reasons. Could be poverty, could be lack of education. I mean, education meaning like that not aware about the impact of these decisions, social media effect, it's also could be a reason, and it is a reason because the instant gratification, the show of your new things, and people
Yeah, yeah,
are following the
yeah,
trends, and
yeah. Because if we
and
focus
because
on this,
in
like
US,
as you're saying, if we focus on this right here, it's like it's like the fashion industry, right? So the fashion industry is like a beast. It's like a uncontrollable
yes,
beast, right? So y- I'm touching on because okay, the fashion industry is a beast, but then we have fast fashion, which is another type of beast. Because the fast fashion industry grabs what the high fashion industry does, and they copy it so fast, and
mm-hmm,
they produce this like things and just like like serving hotcakes out, right?
mm-hmm.
And what you can, once I'm done with this part, you can tell me what you think about this. Like not they like fashion industry, not only the fast fashion industry, not only takes away from the designers, right? The high fashion designers, but they're also serving
Exactly,
out of crap that goes down to the burning pits because it's fast fashion. And
exactly.
we
It's
touch
fast fashion.
sustainability. You know, it's not sustainable. Fast
Yeah,
fashion
so
is not
the
sustainable
consumer,
at all.
exactly. So consumer behavior plays a role because despite the education in awareness of environmental issues, so many people they still struggle to prioritize, the sustainability in their decisions to purchase uh, clothing, jewelry. So as I said, the education is a big role in
You're
shifting
breaking
the
apart
behavior of consumer. Um, can you hear me?
a little bit. You're
Can
breaking.
you
It
hear
sounded
me
like a robot.
a little
Yes,
bit?
I can hear you. Yes.
So, I was saying that education plays a big role. Um,
Well,
in
what
se-
about the company's
gro-
responsibilities towards the consumer?
yes, of course, this will be reduce a big deal. So
Because
if
educational, the consumer education is good, but however,
yeah, that's
the
one
responsibility is in the kitchen.
of
Is the
the
in the kitchen is the fashion industry. These are the people producing all this
Mhm.
stuff and feeding everything.
Yes. So there will be this because they have cheap labor, and the products are the price are very low, the mindless consumption is goes for this without thinking about the consequences. So if this production will stop, will be decrease the consumption, a big
So
deal. But unfortunately, this it has to come from up there because, for example, in this country, the biggest chunk of an economy is through consumption. So then it's hard to stop. So it has to be from each company individually.
yes,
The goal to be
yeah,
sustainability.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with you.
So
The executive branch has to have that set of mind. Yes.
because the cheap clothing leads to overproduction.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if they're not gonna have cheap labor, there will be local products. There will be some regulation through the government to use local products, local labor. It's not gonna be same same prices, so people they will think twice to buy. If the prices will be even a little bit higher, even though it's poverty, but if you do overconsumption, you consume more because you think it's
So
cheaper, but you get more, you buy more, and it's unnecessary. And again, if you get back to the education, people will understand better. They
Yes,
will be more mindful when they make decisions.
they
So,
purchase. Yeah, when they
con-
purchase. Yeah, yeah. So okay, that's awesome.
yes, but it comes from the big companies for sure.
We have spent about 35 minutes, and I just want, before we close down this great interview, and conversation that I have with you, I want to, because like companies or corporations are thought to be like a person, right? It's a person. You know, when you create a business, like a corporation, this corporation has like a human quality to it, right? So
Exactly.
so it doesn't matter how big or small, the same thought and mentality can be applied. So what I mean is a small business mentality, if the person has like a big thought, right, and they have enough money to do it, they can expand that business and make it a corporation, right? And they can create all this stuff. So I'm going to take this backwards. So the focus of this last question, and we're talking about the fashion industry. But since I'm having the pleasure to talk with you, a friend that I know and a person that is involved in this aspect through her design, through your design. So I want to ask you, and you might need to take a few seconds to think about this, because I think that you are doing something that it's I no I think that your design and the way you think about your compositions and how you put your elements together, you might think about this willingly or maybe not. But I think that you are and again, I'm going to read the question, like, in your perspective, right? What are the greatest barriers to achieving sustainability in the fashion industry, and how might they be overcome? So now, applying it to yourself, in your own perspective and in your own personal design level, and you are the industry, right? A one person industry, right? How your work is achieving sustainability, and how you are overcoming any of these barriers that the big fashion industries are causing when it comes to sustainability.
Yes. So,
And you spoke about this a moment ago, but I want for you to like explain it again. I know the answer, kind of like the answer, but I want for you to explain it again, because it's the question is placed in a different layout for you to think about it.
yeah. So coming back to the conclusion. So me individual, I think is as a designer and in this solution, finding a solution about this, we are all interconnected. So we have to work, everybody has their part in finding a solution. So on the bigger level, the governments they have to do definitely strict regulation to the big corporation on environmental standards in their industry, in the fashion industry.
Yes.
Uh, on the lower level, the consumer behavior. Of course, we discussed that we have to raise awareness. So, because we are all interconnected, uh, we need to collaborate. The brands, designers, consumers, uh,
So is this something that you're
organizations,
currently doing
policy
yourself?
makers.
Like what you're saying right now, is this
Yes.
something that you
So
are
I,
implementing
as a
into your own?
designer, I did a, yes. So what my goal and my vision is to connect with other people. So we do these shows together. Like now, this New York Fashion Week, we have a show called Wearable Art, where mm, people from different levels, fashion, jewelry, art, makers, we get together and talk about sustainability. All the products, all the clothing, all the products in these shows are made from ethical and environmental friendly
Ethical resources.
materials. So we try to connect. Yes, we try to connect through art, not only fashion. So we create an event, playful, and also talking about these issues, so people can connect. So it's not only about buying a product; it's also coming and talk, discussions, and connect, social connection through. So it's very important to understand that we are all interconnected. So that's the only way we could find overcome these barriers. So it takes effort, innovation, because all this to this redesign from raw materials, reusing materials, design the waste, it requires innovation, and in fashion industry has the potential to reduce these negative environmental impacts created by the big industries. So I think that's a very big way to raise awareness and to collaborate.
That's great.
So
That's great. I
my
think that
vision, my personal vision is that wearing sustainable clothing made from recycling materials is quite a transformation, spiritual, it's compassionate, and we connect through that. So I love this social art.
that's great. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. That's great. Um, it's good to know about the community that you're being involved with. I'm pretty sure when people just read this, they're gonna be intrigued. In my class, they love this subject a lot. So it's always good to know that there's people out there, artists like yourself, that are extremely conscious about this, and they're not only talking about it, but they're also doing the work, and that's great. So, Laura, I really want to thank you. Yeah, I think that we arrived, we landed the plane with this nice and comfortably. I want to thank you again for taking up your time after work to assist me with this assignment, and I really appreciate your time. You definitely, we can talk later about your website, and just let me know what you need, and I just take care of it, just like what we just talk about the details, and assist you on what would you think you might need. Okay, so
It was a real pleasure talking
uh, uh
and thinking
cool.
about all this process. Thank you.
Yeah. It's good to have this sort of conversation. Sometimes makes your brain like juicy and all that stuff. It kind of like rekindles your passion for the art and the work that you do. Yeah, it's cool.
Oh yeah, art is beautiful, and
Yeah.
uh, we could
So
connect
Laura,
through design. Designing the waste is beautiful. Yes.
yeah, I'm looking
Thank you.
forward to no, thank you, darling. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I really man, you asked me a moment ago about my work and my shoes. We talked about that later. But thank you again, darling. Okay. You have a good night. Say hello to Marcel for me again. And sweet
You're
dreams to
more
you
than
guys.
welcome.
Thank you very
You too,
much.
Frankie. Okay.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.